want to start or scale your property development business to 8 figures and beyond, then you're in the right place. This is the Property Experts Podcast with Ben Richards and Jack Jiggins, two serial entrepreneurs bringing weekly insights from our award-winning businesses. In these podcasts, you'll learn how we found, funded and delivered over £80 million worth of property in the last 6 years, with templates you can use, deal analysis and deep dive discussions that will help you build your businesses successfully. We hope you'll enjoy.
Hello everyone and welcome back if you've joined us before, but if you are new to the channel, welcome. It's myself, Jack Jiggins, and Ben Richards of the Property Expert Podcast, and we do these live sessions every week, as you probably just heard, and we've got an exciting run through of what we've been up to in the businesses this week and a jam-packed episode. So thank you very much for tuning in, and obviously make sure you also get the questions coming even live, because we will get round to answering them even if it's after the session. So our goal as property developers is to deliver 1,000 homes, which would be £1 billion worth of property in our journey. And I think we're about 10% of the way across the businesses to get there. We've got a snippet of investments that we have open. Thank you to people that have reached out to us over the last few weeks expressing interest. Now is the time to be doing it, because these will get funded. And now is a good time to be engaging on that. They're all different ranges of sizes and different types of projects. So you're really best to sort of let us know if you're interested in working with us, and then we can go into a little bit more about how each and every scheme works. But to go into a little bit more detail, we have a shorter term second charge investment that's available. We have a larger project that we're looking for an equity investor in central London. That's £2.5 million. We also have a HMO that we're delivering in South London. We've got some value add that we're going to be creating on that. That's about a £500,000 investment. And then we're also restructuring our social housing portfolio. So if you've wanted to get into more secured income plays like social housing, we've already got a ready-made portfolio that we believe's an opportunity to come in at a good value without all of the headache of having to find the leases, find the assets and deliver it yourself. It's already ready made. So reach out if you've got any interest, and obviously it would be good to speak to you anyway, because there might be stuff in the future that we could work together on anyhow. Good, straight into the agenda. So for podcast, this is the 13th of June. Blimey, where is this year going already? And we'll kick things off with, is Aura failing? We'll be pulling up our seats and grabbing our popcorn, see what Ben has to share in Aura. We'll be talking about internships and what that might be for a business and how we're kicking that off. We'll be talking about the importance of having an investor list or an investor database and why that's important for property and developers. Under offer commercial sale, got a fun story about a commercial building that's gone on the market and went under offer. We'll be talking about delays on our site in Thame, which is our largest site, permitted development site in Oxfordshire in Thame. Today, I'm dressed up for the Searchland Golf Day, so I'll be sharing what that is. And then we'll be keeping a closer eye on your utility collections, then running into our boardroom, and also being consistent in business, which is a really, really, really important one for me. I think that's imperative. My wife said to me yesterday, when you look at business, you think of 1,000 things that need doing. And I think that's really important. And then last but not least, as always, Q&A. We've actually got 3 questions that came in over the week, so we'll be getting to those too. Hello, Ben.
Nice. Hello. Welcome in. Some not good news, to be fair, to start this this week. Aura's struggling at the moment. We talk about a lot of the successes that we have in development, in business, but we are very open and honest with when things go wrong as well or aren't going as well. And this is one of those moments. So just wanted to talk about kind of the difficulties of running service-based businesses, where effectively you're sort of starting from zero every month. And if you listen to our good friend James Sinclair's podcast, he likes recurring income from lots of people a lot of the time. But that's not always possible. And service-based businesses like Aura, like XP Surveys, you're sort of living within like a 3-month time horizon or a pipeline. You're trying to fill your, I mean, actually XP Surveys is even less than that, really. We don't know month by month kind of how much work is going to be coming in, because ultimately when people book in surveys, they want it yesterday. Whereas Aura, we have a bit of a pipeline, a bit of a runway, generally like 3 months ahead, looking ahead at the projects that we've got going through the drawing boards at the moment, and also the pipeline of work that's coming through or expected to come through. And we had a really solid 2024, whereby, I think we had 12 months of every month was profitable. We came into 2025 and had a month where it was, a loss-making month for the first time in a long time. And we're like, okay, it's a bit of a blip. Things are maybe quite hard out there. And I've looked at a lot of architectural practices over the last 18 months, and some quite high-profile ones. One in particular in just around the corner from us in Clapham that have been going for 40 years, called Granite Architect. They went into liquidation in 2024, and there's a number of cases like that where practices have struggled and have basically gone under. Ultimately, that's obviously not at all where we're at the moment, but things have been very difficult. And with Aura, when we're looking ahead 3 months, often there's been times where it's looked pretty patchy. We're not quite hitting the revenue targets that we're aiming for, but within the following week of sort of having those conversations, we get 2 extra projects that we win, and it bolsters things up to where it needs to be. And I've been sort of banging the drum over the last 4 or 5 months, saying we've got a lot of fee proposals out, we're getting good quality leads in through the door. We don't seem to be converting those leads and winning the work, and bringing those new projects in. And every month I'm sort of saying, look, some of these will drop soon, but they're not. And over the last 3 months, we've had three consecutive months where we've had loss-making months, which obviously as a business you can't really sustain that. It's the first time in 8 years, I guess, since starting that I felt that. Felt this much under pressure, I guess, in terms of the business not being where it wants to be. We built the team over the last year to sustain, effectively the where we thought the revenue was going to be. So, at that sort of £1 million turnover level, that was where we sort of built the business and company and team to be. But at the moment, we're not hitting those targets on a monthly basis, and we're getting consistent leads in. We're getting good fee proposals out the door. We're losing a lot on our charges, on our fees, and that's a lot of the feedback that we're getting. And I think there's a lot to be said about the market at the moment in terms of I feel like the whole industry is almost a race to the bottom. There's a lot of difficulties with the private client sector. So people aren't necessarily refinancing their homes to get the money they need to do that extension that they've been putting off for 3 years. Interest rates are stupidly high, so people seem to be sitting on their hands and not really moving as much as they used to, or doing works as much as they used to. So that's having a big knock-on effect with our private client work. And then we've had a couple of property development clients that have also pulled the plug. They found difficulties in the legal process. They actually can't move forward with the purchase of the property development that they were looking to move forward with. And that's also been a big chunk of revenue that's been missed. So yeah, it's not all gravy out there. It's not a high margin business in the first place. I think a lot of people think that architecture practices make a shit ton of money. The reality is it's not. A good practice will make 12 to 15% net margins, and that's slim. If things do go wrong or projects don't pull through, then that margin can easily get eroded. So yeah, just wanted to say, if you are a property developer, projects coming up, we would be absolutely, we would love to quote for them, to work with you. We are very good at maximizing and sweating assets is what we do for XP Property. Obviously, all of our developments are designed by Aura, and that's how we get max value from the sites that we work on. So we'd love to do that for more property developers. If you are listening and tuning into this and have got a project upcoming, we would love to quote for it. We offer interior design services, so standalone. We're really hoping to get into more property development type interior design projects where we can come in and also help out with the branding, with the site branding, the marketing, the brochures, the website, as well as the interior design specification and fit out and all of that sort of branding and marketing piece. And then we've got our private client projects, which are always sort of 250 grand to 800 grand sort of contract value, London and the home counties where people want to extend their homes and create more space for their growing families and things like that. So yeah, if anyone you know is looking for those types of services, I would love to speak to them. Cool. We got some interns in the businesses.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we've got an absolute onslaught of applications in, but yeah, we've already got one that started. So internship, we actually probably talked about this last summer. We essentially, Reading University, which is our local university, have a program where we can take on interns. You get allocated funding for that, so they contribute to salaries. And essentially, we go through this raft of recruitment where we take some interns on for summer. Last year, we had 4. We actually end up hiring one sort of semi-part-time for the remainder of their last year, who's gone on really, really well as sort of a project management assistant. And we've got 3 more vacancies that they've approved for funding this year. So we're hiring through Reading University, and I've got about 60 CVs to go through to pre-qualify them for an initial telephone call. And then we also have had, just for a local connection, actually a local developer, one-man band developer, his son has joined us for internship as well in Central Suites. And it's just to sort of get you guys thinking out there. You might be in a small independent business or even a slightly bigger business, maybe like Aura, like 14, 15 people in the team, and be thinking, how can you bring in talent at the best level? And I do think that bringing in an internship, while someone's going into their 3rd year of university, you can then take them on a day a week for their last year, and then also a permanent graduate role. And you do get sort of good, good blood coming through, really, because they know who you are, they know how you operate, they're comfortable in what you're doing. They can you can keep them busy over that year period, and then hopefully get a full-time hire out of them. One thing I did want to share that we do with our interns, which is quite fun, is we give them a questionnaire at the beginning of their internship, and then we review it on their exit interview at the end. So we like to ask them questions like, what do you think you want to do after university? What are the 3 areas you'd like to learn more about? How could we set you best up going back to university? So that's typically if they've got theoretical experience and exposure in potentially like building surveying or quantity surveying, they want the actual practical exposure on site to see where those roles engage on site. We've asked them the questions like, what do you think about working for a small company and working for a large company? We ask, do you have any concerns? What's your thoughts on career and life in the world? Because we're problem solvers in our business, and I like it when they potentially go, well, I'm not sure if I'd fit well in here for this reason, and then we can then give them the exposure that they could potentially have in that area. We ask what their 3 main strengths are. We ask what they would like to improve on. We ask if they're comfortable taking on responsibility. I feel like this is a really good one to test people and actually give them responsibility where they can. We ask them what makes a good career, because sometimes, have you asked yourself that question? What is a good career? What is a career that you feel that you're accomplished? Early days, it's normally package and money and security and financial security. And then it might move into job satisfaction and growth and learning and, being part of something. And then what does success look like? And then this is my favorite one, is what do you think our company do? So they can then look at what they've said at the beginning and see that the adverse, because obviously once they've been in the business for 3 months, they're really going to know what the business does. So yeah, I thought I'd share that.
Nice. I just had one thing to say about the internship, because there's probably a lot of people thinking, oh, cheap labor, let's go and bolster the team and go and grab a few people and see where we get to. I think ultimately there's loads of benefits having interns involved, but the drawbacks are that they need management. So, if you haven't got the time yourself, then you are going to have somebody that is capable of making sure they're busy, giving them a list of things to do, keeping on top of them, and also being there for when they have questions, because there will be some. So don't just think that you can hire an intern, get some cheap labor in for a few months, and they'll just be self-sufficient and not bother you, because they will, and they will need your support, they will need your help. So just be aware and prepared for that. There's loads of pros, but those are some of the cons. So yeah.
I actually try and set out the stall with interns in their induction. I say, look, we're a small company. It's very difficult for us to give resource. We're not a massive company where we could come in on, for example, the Hill Group. they have their own intern academy where people just go on this jolly, it's like a 3-month school trip where they learn loads about development, and there's someone allocated to it and they get fed and all that sort of stuff. Obviously we do, put ourselves out for interns, but I sort of say your job is to be a fly on the wall and save our team time doing various tasks, so that time can keep given back in training. So if you're not giving us the time back, it's going to be very difficult for us then to spend time training with you. And I always make that clear. And then from that set, they're always trying to help and do things. What can I help with? What can I do? Even the intern in the car said yesterday, he said, if you're out and about tomorrow and you need me to do anything, let me know. And it's that attitude that is give and take. And that's how interns should work.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. And then we spoke about at the start of the call about the open investments that we've got going on. We've got 4 at the moment, and actually there might be a 5th because I think we've had a few issues with an investor pulling out on one of our larger deals. So that might have to be brought into conversation. But I wanted to touch on the importance of an investor list. And we've spoken about this before. I think we've got circa 150 people on our investor list that we've met over the years. This is something that's been building over the last 6-7 years. Every time we have a conversation with someone, every time that somebody reaches out to us via the website, they get added to the list. And sometimes it is very easy to forget who you've spoken to and meetings that you've had. So making sure that in that investor list, you've got notes on the conversations that you've had, the types of investments that the investors are looking for, the type of liquidity that they've got. Do they have 200 grand looking to invest, or do they have 2 million? That's key information, so that when projects come up, you can look through your investor list and target the types of investor with the capacity to invest in that deal, and have open conversations with them and see if they're interested in that particular deal. So we use HubSpot as our CRM platform, and we've talked about HubSpot in the past quite a lot. That has basically all of the contacts that we would have ever met in a solid platform that we can hit with email newsletters and investor information or new deals that are coming through, all that type of stuff. But we have our investor list mainly stored on Google Sheets. So it's basically a long spreadsheet of all of the names down the left-hand side, all of the key information, the notes from the conversations we've had with them, the amount of money that they've got to invest. And then often on the right-hand side, we'll have sort of the projects that we have available. So Jack and I were up late a couple of nights ago thinking about, well, who might be right for this type of investment, who might be right for that type of investment. And on the right-hand side, underneath the project specifically, we can put either a note to say it was sent to this person on this date, or this might be a potential for this type of deal. It was sent, Jack might have sent it on a certain date, so he adds it to that spreadsheet, and ultimately I then know who he's sent details to, because I actually drafted an email the other night to a specific investor, and I'm glad that I checked with Jack to see if he had actually sent it to that person yet. And he had, so I would have just been duplicating information, and it would have made us look a bit silly if we're both sort of emailing the same deal to the same investor. So having a track record of who you've sent what is really important, so that you know what's gone out, and then also noting what the feedback was from those people. If it's not right for them right now, they might say something like, look, I'm in a deal at the moment, I should have about £1 million in about 6 months time, so do keep me in the loop for projects that come up after 6 months, and let's have a conversation. The deal that you've sent me is the type of deal that I'm looking for, I just don't have the money at the moment. So all of those things are really important to either add to HubSpot or add to your investor list. Anything you want to say on that, Jack?
Yeah, just to everyone out there, you saw the clip at the beginning, you got to inquire to be on the list. So
there you go. Reach out if you want to work with us. Cool. We've spoken about over the last sort of couple of months, Xero and the importance of having good financial management within your business. Xero is an incredible platform. There's an app, there's an online website where it covers everything from bookkeeping, financial management, HR, payroll, holiday bookings. It's not just a financial piece of software. It does actually do payroll, your VAT returns. You can track your holidays within your businesses. in terms of when people request holiday, you can sign it off, and it's all lodged in the platform, so you can see who's off when very quickly. We've got a referral bonus, so you can get 90% off for the first 6 months using the referral link down below. So if you don't have good financial management within your business and you want to get sharper on it, then you either use the bit.ly link on the screen or the description down below. Cool. And Jack's been busy working on a site is this in Wallingford?
This is in Wallingford, yeah. This project's been the problem child, the challenging one, because we bought it with severe structural remediations that needed to take place, which we've carried out now, and got all the structural sign off to say that the engineer's happy, building control's happy, blah, 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 which is all good. But we are selling the ground floor retail space. And it's just because it's such a dry yield, it doesn't really benefit us to hold it. Now, interestingly, I don't know if there's anyone out there that's listening that has or will be doing mixed use HMO products. So this is ground floor retail with a 7-bedroom HMO on the top floor. And the finance packages that you get if it's mixed use are like 7.5% to 8%. But if it's directly just residential above a retail space, i.e. you only keep the uppers, it's like 5.5%. And because that's the heavier weighted value, and in this particular instance, that upper is probably worth 650, 700K, it doesn't make sense to keep the ground floor. The ground floor actually brings down the building as a dead weight, as a good investment for us. So for that reason, we're selling it for about 150K. It should rent for about 15K a year, so a 10% yield for someone buying it. And essentially, we went on the market on Friday, had an offer over the weekend, picked it up Monday morning for the agent. Had an offer, put it on the market on Friday, had an offer over the weekend, and I said, I'm not willing to accept an offer until they've viewed it. And also the offer was a bit low. They offered 125. So I said they can come back and have a look on Monday. They went on Monday, upped their offer to 135. I accepted the offer on Monday afternoon, and then they pulled out from the deal on Monday evening. So that's how quickly that one went.
Wow. What was their reasoning?
Which was quite comical. But yeah, I wanted to share it just because, you do get, and actually what happened is the bidder came back and said, actually, we're not happy to offer 135. We'd be happy to stick at our original offer at 125. And I actually turned around and said, you've messed this up so much that I don't want to do a transaction with you, because this is only going to get worse through legals and documentation and lease plans. And, we've got to structure a lease below our building that we own and agree what the service charge is for the roof between the two buildings. If we can't even get the bid right and stick to it, everything else is going to be a nightmare. So we sort of agreed to disagree and move our own ways. And sometimes you have to do that, even though you've got an offer there that might be worth considering. Also consider the pain and the waste of the time that you might be going through selling to someone that is a little bit difficult in that respect. So, a bit of fun, but also worthwhile. If anyone is out there, they've got a mixed use HMO, worth looking at splitting them out, selling the ground floor, and actually looking at the finance cost to keep the uppers without the ground floor. Because for us, I'll do some quick maths on that. So if our building above is worth 650 and we're saving about 2% per year in finance costs, that's £13,000 a year in finance savings by selling the commercial and just refinancing the uppers. So definitely worthwhile to look at.
Nice. And these look like a good set of survey drawings. Who did those?
I don't know if you've noticed, actually.
You are massively representative. For those that can't see and are just listening, Jack's got an XP Surveys hat on and an XP Surveys polo shirt, so he's going to be representing the business.
XP Surveys did the full suite there: drone, Matterport, measured building survey, topographical survey. What more could you want? Nice.
Lease plan as well, or was that
that was the architect that did that? Sorry.
Nice, good stuff. Cool. I mean, if you get value from these podcasts, we would love you to rate us on Spotify and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We're here every Friday. We release the audio version across those podcast platforms at Monday at 5 p.m. So you can listen to us in the gym or on your way to work and tune into what's been going on over the last week. The biggest thing that we'd ask for you, we don't ask for much, is that if you do get value from it, please just share it with a few people. Share it into a WhatsApp group that you're part of. Share it with your friend, your mum, your dad, whoever you think would be interested in learning about business, entrepreneurship, and property development, that would be massively appreciated. I think I read this out last week, but this is from Tarek, who we've done some consultancy with. But I'll read it out again because it's very good. 5-star review. The guys at XP, Jack and Ben, are both very knowledgeable and experienced operators who have helped our development business massively in a short space of time. They're also very honest people and deal with things with integrity. Highly recommend them if you want to add knowledge and information to your business. And that goes to obviously the podcast, we launch these for free, but we do have consultancy options where we run a boardroom session, which we'll come on to in a minute. We have one-to-one consultancy opportunities where you can get a bit more intimate and go on a deep dive within your business and really get to the nitty-gritty of the problems that you're having, and hopefully we can help from the experience we've gained over the last 8 years, which I think honestly we've probably got 25 years worth of business experience in the last 8 years, because we've done a huge amount and run a number of businesses. So yeah, reach out if you want consultancy, and do follow, subscribe, and do all that good stuff for the podcast. On to delays at Thame. Again, if you've been following this project, it's been constant delays, whether that be Thames Water connecting the water connections for us, getting building control sign off on our first sort of 7 flats. But we've got more delays, and they're again sort of sitting with building control. For those that have been to site with us and seen this project and seen it unfold, it's a very phased site. We've got a central section of 9 flats which are pretty much complete now. 4 of them have been sold and are currently occupied, and then what we're trying to do is basically move this end of the building is occupied by a company called Affinity Trust. They're a housing association. They've been occupying the space for I think 15 years, and we've agreed a new 15-year lease to move them from this part of the building next to the car park down to the front of the site, which you can see in this photo here. And they've recently fitted out their new office, so it looks great. Like really pleased with how the fit out has been done. But it's taken 6 to 8 weeks longer than it should have done, and we are now held up with building control because, as per most building controls nowadays, they want your inside leg measurement. They want absolutely everything. It's not a quick process to get sign-offs nowadays. And it seems to be that they come back with more and more things. You supply them what they want, and then they come back with more questions, and you have to go back and forth and back and forth. It wouldn't surprise me if on average now, from completion of works to actually getting your building control certificates, is probably 4 to 6 weeks, which when you're holding a site and spending 30 grand a month on interest costs, that's a massive cost to us as the developer. And this is compounded on this site because Affinity Trust cannot move into their new office until they've got the building control sign off. And we cannot start our phase 2 works, which is converting the Affinity Trust office into 11 flats, until they've moved out. So ultimately we're in this stalemate where they can't move out, no real fault of their own. No, it's been some challenging things that we've had to overcome, and delays with the build and delays with building control. It's not really their fault, but it's also not our fault, but it's costing us 30 grand a month. So we're in a bit of a really horrible spot at the moment. We had a good walk around on Tuesday. Shout out to the procurement for house builders boys, who are going to be providing all the materials for phase 2. So they're going to be working heavily and closely with our builder to provide all of the materials. There's only a few things that we've pulled out, like the balconies and the glass balustrades, because we were happy with phase 1 and how those went, and we're just going to go back to the same supplier ourselves. But ultimately they're going to be buying all of the plasterboard, the stud work, the paint, the windows, the structural steel work. Everything basically will go via them. The cost savings that we've made, on a £1.1 million contract, I think we'll easily save 50 grand. We're just totting up the final amount now. The builder is super happy to go down this route as well. We all met on site on Tuesday. And when our builder was hearing how much they're going to be doing for him in terms of procuring all of the materials, creating a program of works, organizing skips, organizing scaffold, ultimately what our builder is going to be bringing is the labor element. He's not going to have all the headaches of one of his guys darting around to Travis Perkins or whatever to pick up more sand or things that they've forgotten. It's all going to be programmed in by P4HB. I'm sure there'll be some kinks to iron out in the first 6 to 8 weeks, but I think once that's all once they're aligned with our builder and how they both operate, I think it should be a really seamless process where we're making some really good savings on the materials and only really paying our builder for the labor. So yeah, we'll see how that progresses. I don't think we've got any slides on it, but I'll mention it anyway. If you want to sponsor this podcast, we are open to sponsorships. We've got a good sort of brochure and deck that we've been sending out to numerous parties. The reason that sparked me sort of saying this is that P4HB are in deep discussions with us at the moment about becoming one of our first. I don't even know if Jack knows this, but yeah, we're having deep conversations with them. We're almost there, I think, in terms of agreeing the structure of how that sponsorship works, and you'll start to hear a lot more about P4HB, who they are, and obviously we will keep you up to date with the progress on Thame and how that's working directly with us on site anyway. So yeah, more delays at Thame. It's costing us a lot of money, but yes, 1 week at a time, we're trying to push things forward and get building control sign off for a finished trust and get them moved out ASAP. You're off on a jolly.
Yeah, I'm off on the jolly. I actually do struggle with jollies in the week. I was chatting to Stu earlier, I'd already rejected the fiducium race day today. I was like, I just can't do that in work hours. But Searchland had a golf day less than probably 400 meters from my house, and I just couldn't resist. So I'm going there to, rub shoulders with 40 other acquisition and property investor people. Obviously, they're people that typically use the software. So it will be good to sort of discuss what they're up to, and maybe I can get some notes to share with our acquisitions team. But out on the golf course today, working on networking, meeting other people that work in the acquisition side, seeing what they're finding successes in, and obviously trying to beat them because I'm not competitive at all. And I've got a slight advantage that I know the course. So I'll be keeping that stum for the first half of the course and see how I get on.
Nice.
But yeah, excited to see the guys. Searchland is actually the mapping software that we use and have used since they set up. We were one of their, I think we were their third, I don't know, actually, I'm going to ask them what number it is because I don't actually know. I sometimes think we were their second user and sometimes maybe their fourth or fifth, but within the top 5. So been there since day one. We've got grandfather rights. We spend about 2 shillings and a 6pence on our membership. But excited to totter around the golf course and see how we get on.
Nice. I mean, it has been amazing to see how Searchland has progressed and grown. Like it was actually, I remember we were in our old Aura office, which was over, probably about 5 years ago that when Searchland first set up. And I remember speaking to Hugh, and it was probably him and a couple of his founder mates in their on their dining room tables and stuff like that. And to see where they've grown to now is just phenomenal. So fair play to the boys.
Do you know how many years I was? So interestingly, I got invited to it and I was like, because I've heard a lot in the market that they are now, since I can remember being in like property investment and land sourcing, Land Tech, which used to be Land Insight, was always the leader, always the market leader, always had the monopoly on the market. Super expensive. And I kind of feel that they probably, because they owned the market, they priced themselves out of being the longer term player. So an interesting probably case study there to look at. Yeah, you can take the piss if you are the best in the market, but actually then you can easily be competed against, because if someone offers a similar thing that's a less of a cost, you obviously get competed with. But anyway, so I was thinking about Searchland and how much they've grown, how well they've done, and massive supporter of Searchland. So I decided to give them a little look up on the old company's house, as one would do. And their limited company was only set up in 8th of September 2020.
Wow.
So only 5
years ago,
under 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Also looked at their accounts, which looked pretty healthy. Well done, Hugh. And yeah, it goes to show what you can do. Like I would say they are now the market leader in under 5 years. So if you're not, what's the phrase? If you're not
growing, you're dying.
You're changing, you're going backwards or something like that. But Land Insight's been pipped, I reckon.
Nice. I hope there's plenty of garish golf outfits like this photo as well. I mean, there's some of those delightful.
Yeah, I'm pretty boring, just going full branded, aren't I?
Yeah.
Maybe I could just not wear any shorts. That would bring up the excitement.
There you go. Very good. Cool. And we've gone from 6 to 8, but missed 7. how to keep a closer eye on your utilities connections. I've spoken about this before, and it is an absolute game changer. You know, I found out about this from the OpenReach field engineer that met me on site one time, and he said, just you can. There's a place called Network. It's by Causeway. That's the company that run it, and you can basically see every single permit that is in play or been approved or currently being reviewed for roadworks in your area. So it's a live feed, live map where you can type in your postcode and you can literally see, where road closures are going to be, how much they're going to be, how long those road closures are going to be for, where people are going to be digging. It's where there's a temporary set of traffic lights. All of this stuff is on the Network, and I'm glad that I was talking about this today because it sparked me to go on the website and take a screenshot. And I thought, well, while I'm here, I may as well see when our OpenReach connections are going to be made for West Street, because we've had huge delays in that project. We had huge delays with Thames Water, and we had huge delays with OpenReach. They had a date and a permit agreed for March. They turned up in the morning, and when the builder got back at like 11 o'clock in the morning, they'd buggered off and hadn't done any work. So we're like, okay, what's going on here? And then we had some other permits booked in for works between then and the beginning of May. Apparently we had the 6th of May factored in as a permit agreed and ready to move forward with the works. And then the contractor cancelled it. So we're now 6 weeks on from that. And I am very, very happy to see, having looked this morning, that our permit for works on Tuesday to Thursday next week, 17th to the 19th of June, has been granted, which is amazing. So I will be on to the OpenReach guys to make sure that nobody, cancels that, and their contractors absolutely get that done, because that is now the final piece, well, one of the final pieces to get building control sign off on our site in Marlow. So yeah, if you want to understand more about utilities, timeframes, what's going on in the area, it can help you. If you need to plan forward, let's say you know that you're going to need your connections within the next 3 months, you open the Network map, you type, you click the drop down for next 3 months to see what's going on. And if you can see that there's huge amounts of roadworks already in the area, you're probably stumped. So you kind of, if it's happening, month 2 to 3 that they're closing roads and doing loads of work, you really need to get on to get that permit before those roadworks happen, or make sure that you're first directly after those main roadworks have been completed. So it just really helps you to plan ahead, see what else is going on, make sure that you're not getting stumped by doing things last minute. And yeah, massive piece of software that is just going to help you with your utilities connection massively. So yeah, Network, check it out. You don't have to log in, don't have to have the user. You can literally just type in your postcode and see what's going on. Cool. And it's stuff like that we talk about on our Boardroom. We had our XP Boardroom session yesterday, which every quarter we have face-to-face. So this is a boardroom of 10 to 12 people looking to scale their businesses. Most people that come onto the boardroom have some experience in property. They might have a couple of buy-to-lets or have done some small developments, but really want to grow to the next level and really start growing their development business. If you're interested in joining Jack and I, it's generally sort of 4 hours every month by Zoom, and then every quarter it's face-to-face. We talk about goals and achievements. We look at kind of setting people targets for that month in between, and then really holding them to account to make sure that they are doing their best to achieve those targets that they've set out. We look at deal clinic opportunities. So basically people will bring in 3 to 4 projects that they're actively looking at. We'll critique it on screen. We'll say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Oh, I know someone that might be able to help with that, like capital allowances, for example, or speak to this planning consultant because we've just done a scheme with them in this place, and they might be able to help you on your scheme. And then we look at business hot seat coaching from a business perspective. So not specific to property development as such, but even if you are a property developer, there is a business behind those property developments, and you need to understand how to operate that business as efficiently as you possibly can. So, we talked yesterday a little bit about the zero financial accounting, how we code things, how we manage our finances from a bookkeeping perspective, a financial management perspective, and these are the types of things that not all property developers or property courses teach you. They might teach you how to find opportunities and fund opportunities, but you need to build a business behind that. And if you want to grow your business and make sure that you're setting yourself up for as much success as possible, then the XP Boardroom is probably something that would be good for you. So do reach out if you're interested in joining the XP Boardroom. We do have a couple of spaces, so reach out and we can send you more details. And we've been doing that consistently, talking about consistency. We started that XP Boardroom in lockdown, which by now is 4 years ago, probably.
I mean, it's a bit of a shame, really, because I was looking at Searchland's accounts, so we set up around the same time.
Yeah, not quite there, are we? But it's been going for a long time. We've been consistent with it. We've had some really great people come through the boardroom, and they're now doing incredible things. And it's very, 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 very it's great to see that, basically. But the consistency thing that we wanted to talk about here is the YouTube channel. We mentioned last week that we are now monetized, which is amazing. And I can tell everyone that we have made a grand total of £3.56 in the last week. That's right.
Almost a meal deal.
Every little helps, and that will compound and grow over time. So it's money for nothing. We were doing these things anyway. We were giving the value on a weekly basis. So it's now nice just to at least get some money for it. But what I wanted to say is, I don't know who said that compounding is the eighth wonder of the world, but it really is. It's taken us over 2 years, 2.5 years, let's say 2.5 years to get to 125,000 views on our YouTube channel. And literally between the 6th of May and the 11th of June, so just over 1 month, we've now gone up to 150,000 views. So, it's taken, like I say, the best part of 2.5 years to get to 125,000. And then basically we've grown an extra 20% within a month. And that is going to continue to compound, certainly with your help. If you do follow and comment on these YouTube videos, it's going to help us get that viewership up and more eyeballs and more learning, and hopefully stopping people from making some stupid mistakes that we've made in the past in business. And that's what this channel is all about. So yeah, please do share, please do please do comment. It all helps the algorithm to show it to more people. And yeah, that's the power of consistency. We turn up every week. We do these things because we think it gives value to a lot of people. It opens doors for us, and we like sharing what we've learned. So yeah,
I mean, 16% growth in 1 month is absolutely nuts. That's really good. Yeah. Really good. It's actually Albert Einstein quote. I googled it. I'll give you the full quote because it's good for entrepreneurs. Actually, I would say business owners. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Very good.
That is so incredibly true. Yeah, when you look at some of the property developers that have failed over the last couple of years, when you dig into it, what you find is that they end up becoming a bit of a Ponzi scheme to a certain degree, where they bring in more investment to pay down existing investment, and the debt is compounded. So, it works both ways, like Jack says. You can compound exponentially positively for amazing financial growth. But if you don't manage your finances and you are compounding debt, it's just going to spiral very quickly, exponentially downwards. So yeah, Einstein was quite clever, wasn't he? That's I
think he was a sharp cookie.
That's quite profound, that, isn't it? Cool. On to some Q&A stuff. So there's a few questions that have come in over the last week or so. We thought we'd touch on. Bartoni79, you've been very, very hot in the old comments over the last couple of weeks. So thanks for that very much. And he's asked, are we running any more open days in the next few months? Short answer is no, not to the sort of open public to a certain degree. I think it will probably be late September, early October before we open up a sort of full open day like we've done before. If you've not seen the open days that we've done before, it's a fantastic opportunity for people to come, look around our sites, ask any question they want to. How, what's our build costs? How much did we pay for the site? What issues have we had? What we're selling for? All those good questions that people want to know. It's your opportunity to come to sites, walk around with us. We went to 4 sites in our April site day, which was the best part of, I think, £20 million worth of gross development value across those sites. And yeah, if you're interested in joining next time and you want to be added to the list, because we can't take, we can really max out at probably about 30 people, comment site tour down below, and we'll add you to the list for the next one. We are planning to do a site tour earlier than that, and it relates to the property ed platform that we are launching very, very soon with Tyler Newman. So if you've been tuning in over the last couple of months, we've been launching it and mentioned it a couple of times, but over the next month you will see more and more content around that program, which is more of a structured 12-month development mastermind that property ed with Tyler Newman and XP Property will be delivering. We've already built the school platform. We've already uploaded a number of webinars and content pieces that people can access via the platform. And it's going to be more of a 12-month development mastermind that if you're serious about starting and scaling your business to 7 and 8 figures, then it's something that you really want to be getting involved in. So again, if you are interested in that type of thing, reach out to us, DM one of us, Jack or I, or email info@xpproperty.co.uk. We can send you more details around what that's going to be all about, and how you can get involved. Cool. We've got Nijath 1975. Hi, love the content. Just a quick question. What type of warranties are you offering to buyers of the flats in your development, such as Marlow? Are you providing full standard new build warranties or going with PCCs? PCCs are professional consultant certificates, used to be known as architect certificates. And that is basically if full warranties, are they inspecting every item such as the roof, etc., and encouraging you to replace? Okay, so there's a few things here. A new build warranty will often be a 10-year structural defect warranty. A PCC often is just purely a 6-month warranty, and really only backed by the professional indemnity insurance of the person that is overseeing those works. Used to be an architect certificate, so ultimately you're sort of pushing some liability onto the architect, whereas 10-year structural defect warranties are insurance products. They are insurance backed. They'll have a lot more robustness when it comes to getting sort of certificate of mortgage lending. And that's really the two big differences. You've got 10-year structural defect warranties, which are insurance backed, or you've got a PCC, which lasts for 6 years and is really kind of just on the strength of the PI insurance of the surveyor or architect or whoever is providing that PCC. We've done some PCCs in the past for some smaller conversion projects. We did come unstuck or have a few issues with the Help to Buy scheme because the PCCs weren't accepted for people buying using the Help to Buy scheme. There had to be a 10-year structural defect warranty in place. So we actually spent the best part of £4,000, I think it was at the time, to get a warranty after the fact, which you never want to do when you're setting up for warranties or PCCs. You need to start that process at the beginning of your works, because ultimately nobody's going to come in. It's too risky for somebody to come in after the fact when they haven't seen the building being put together, seen all of the photos and the progression of, has it all been done correctly? Has the DPC, DPM been installed correctly? Is there, specific air gaps between the insulation and the cavity walls? Have your roofs been strapped down correctly? There's all these things that they want to see as things progress. If somebody's coming in at the end of a project, it's way too risky. It's going to cost you a fortune to then get a get a warranty certificate post completion. So yeah, that's the difference between the two. We now just go straight in for the 10-year structural defect warranty. Just to give a bit of insight, it will probably cost you somewhere between £2,000 and £3,000 a unit, depending on the size. If you've got a scheme that's, let's say, 5 to 20 units, that's the sort of level I would expect to see. £2,000 to £3,000 per unit. Whereas a PCC might cost you £1,500 per unit. So there is a cost difference, but to de-risk the tail end, which is really where you make your money on the sales. You don't really want any issues with a certain lender not being happy with a PCC, and the buyers of your new flats can't get the mortgages that they want. So yeah, that's the difference between them, and we generally go for a full 10-year structural defect warranty. Most new builds, by the way, you have to have a 10-year structural defect warranty. Most people won't accept the PCC. So if you're doing conversions, you might get away with a PPC, but there's obviously pros and cons to each. And then if for warranties, are they inspecting every item such as the roofs and encouraging you to replace? I mean, it depends how bad it is. They will ask you for a structural roof survey, for example. They will ask you for damp surveys. Ultimately they need to protect their insurance, so they want to make sure that you're doing all the right reports. If the reports state that the roof needs to be replaced or there needs to be remedial works, then yes, they would expect you to do those remedial works to satisfy the insurance and the warranty. So they do inspect everything. They come out just like a building control inspector, and there are some building and control inspector bodies that also offer the 10-year structural warranty. So I think Premier Guarantee is one of those. They both have a warranty and a building control wrapped up in one, so you only have one person coming out and checking everything, and there are some cost savings to be made there. Hopefully that's answered your question. And then Jack, do you want to do this last one? Question is, another question. This is from Bartoni again. How do these guaranteed rent yield developments work, and do you use them? Do you have caveats in the small print? I actually did respond to this on YouTube to him and said, like, we don't. I mean, the crux of it is we don't. There's I think the first thing I said to him was that nothing is guaranteed. You can't guarantee a return. It's impossible to do so.
Yeah. I don't think we actually. So I believe in the last episode I was talking about commercial valuations and how the income of our social housing portfolio is government supported income. But we've never, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've ever actually used the term guaranteed rent in our vocabulary, because as Ben mentioned, there's no such thing. And I'd actually be extremely cautious of guaranteed rent. I mean, the difficulty between the terminology is, if I say I'll rent your house and I will be a guarantor to the rent, then I am guaranteeing that, if that makes sense. But it's not guaranteed, because I might go bust, or spend my money on something else, or not pay you, or whatever it may be. So we don't really work with that business model. But what we do have is government supported income in our social housing portfolio on 10 or 25-year full repairing leases. We don't have guaranteed rent schemes in our HMO portfolio. That's just not something we do or associate ourselves with. I don't believe that they are a thing. There are providers out there that do rent to rent, or rent to SA, or rent to HMO, that will, rather than just saying to a landlord, I'll rent your building for 3 years, they say, I guarantee your rent for 3 years. In my opinion, that guarantee word shouldn't be in that sentence. It's just, you're paying rent for 3 years, and that's it.
Yeah, can't give much more feedback than that. Please get your questions in down below, and we will answer them. If not today, then next week we'll start loading them up for our Q&A next week. I just wanted to go through the 4 open opportunities that XP Property have in terms of investment. We've got a 300 grand investment, which is a secured second charge against a finished block of flats. The max loan to value on that block after that investment will be 73%. So relatively low risk. We've got a £2.5 million equity development in Islington, central London. So big scheme, £12 million GDV. Super excited, sort of commercial conversion that I think will look fantastic. So we are looking for funding on that. We've got a 500 grand equity requirement for a HMO project based down in Croydon. And then, as always, we are looking for a full or partial sale of our social housing portfolio in Croydon. It's almost £1 million income per year. They're on 10 to 25-year leases with the registered social landlord. It's split across 11 properties. And the ticket from a full sale perspective is around 16 million. And we are looking for potentially the figure's about £5 million if you want to come in to become a partner with us and hold that portfolio longer term. And we do think that within the next sort of 4 years, we can refinance and recoup a lot of that £5 million initial equity. So if you took a 10-year time horizon, our anticipated sort of interest rate of return on that investment is about 12%. So if that sounds of interest, if you want lower, more of an income play type portfolio, and have that sort of funding behind you, then do reach out. We would love to speak to you. Cool. And I think that's
concluded.
That's it for this week. So thanks for tuning in. For those that have, back again next week. This audio, the audio from this video will go out Monday morning at 5 a.m. So if you're a podcast listener, thank you, welcome, and have a great weekend, everyone. Hope you shoot low today, Jack.
I've got to go and lose some balls.
Nice, enjoy. I'll catch you later and speak to you all next week. Bye.